Good afternoon, and thank you for joining Conversations for College Success. The topic today is going to be, what are you doing to prepare in case you are unexpectedly unemployed? Unfortunately, most of us are not doing anything, or we're stressing about being laid off. And we definitely have additional stress when we actually are laid off and we have to find a new position. Know that stressing about it is not helping. I will share some information about the current economy and then steps you can take now to help prepare you for should you be unemployed. Some general information about the economy is that global growth is projected to be 3% for 2025 and 3.1% for 2026. So technically, the economy is not bad. However, what is happening, there's concerns as it relates to the tariffs that are out there. And the tariff concerns mean that global inflation is expected to fall outside of the United States, but is expected to remain high within the United States. What's going to be important, especially within the United States, is restoring confidence, predictability, and sustainability. And that is both for corporations within the United States and also the consumers, which is us within the United States. We don't buy, we don't do a whole host of things when we're concerned about our paychecks, when we're concerned about what's happening in terms of the cost of goods and services. With that being the case, there is a higher concern about being unemployed, especially within developed countries like the United States, and a number of executives that have been surveyed are predicting increasing unemployment. And unfortunately, if you've been listening to the news, that is what's starting to happen. There are starting to be more layoffs at a variety of organizations. And that's not only within the United States, that's across the world. All economies are not where they used to be, although some are growing faster than others. And unfortunately, the United States is not one of the ones that's growing faster. Steps you can take now, whether you see downsizing coming within your organization or are unexpectedly downsized. First, start paying more attention at work. Are there rumors of layoffs? Are layoffs happening now? Or have they been happening and you're just now paying attention to what's happening within your organization? And there are oftentimes signs and things that are going on. Activity is different, who's invited to meetings is different, or just the general feel of the organization is different. You need to be paying attention to all of those things. Create a plan for yourself, and let's hope you don't have to use it. But a number of things within the plan are important for you to do regardless. The first thing is to update your resume and keep it updated. As you're learning new skills, as you're receiving different or new assignments, make sure that you're adding them to your resume. That way, should you be laid off, you're not scrambling to try to think about what those things are. You're in a much more comfortable or relaxed environment and you're adding that information to your resume. What I will also share is, had I heard that for years, I had. Was my resume up to date when I was first laid off? No, it wasn't. But that's when I learned my lesson, and I have kept it up to date ever since because it is important. You really don't want to be scrambling to update your resume every time you're looking for new employment. You want to make sure that the majority of the things that you need within your resume are already there. You should also start looking to see what actually is being advertised. And one of the ways to do that is to set up a job search on LinkedIn. If you are not on LinkedIn, I actually have a podcast on LinkedIn. It's a great professional networking tool for people to stay in contact with each other, for people who are currently in your network, or for you to add new people to your network. Some other things you can do if you have not been going to association meetings within your career field, you should start doing that. You should start continuing to make new contacts within your field. You should be looking at what are the skill sets and expectations within your field. And also, what are other industries where your transferable skills can fit? That is really going to make a difference. What may happen is your field may be shrinking. And if your field is shrinking, where else can you go? A perfect example of that would be the federal workers that were laid off. I'm sure that was not expected. And those jobs, there aren't many that are going to be available. The federal government was probably one of the largest employers of federal employees, but even state and local governments probably do not have as many employees as they used to. So, where else can those skills be used? And start looking in those job markets and areas as well. That's all going to make a difference in terms of how successful you are with finding something else. Now, one of the other things, and I have at least two podcasts, maybe three, on the economy, is definitely slowing down. It has been slowing down for several weeks. Why is that important? It means because there are not going to be as many positions available. And particularly what I'm hearing is people would prefer to work remotely. Unfortunately, there are not as many organizations that are fond of that anymore. They want their workers back in the office. So usually the best you can do is to be able to work from home 1 to 2 days a week, which is good because it does help you in terms of if you have to pay for parking and buying lunch and those kinds of things. So there are some advantages to um, having the opportunity to work 1 or 2 days from home. I talked about increasing your contacts. I talked about attending most fields have associations or organizations that you can join so you can meet other people in your same field, but also there might be an opportunity to learn different skills because they have either programs or programming going on. Those are also things that can help you to stay up to date on what's going on in your field, but potentially figure out what else is available in other fields where your transferable skills could be utilized. I have podcasts on LinkedIn, its purpose and use. There are tutorials to help you put your LinkedIn page together if you do not have one. It is a professional site, it is not a social site. So that's a way to have your connections stay in contact or in place, as well as you can add new contacts as you see people either within your organization or through the associations you're connected to and connect with them on LinkedIn. Why LinkedIn is important, it's a way to stay connected to people in your network. A lot of people put posts out there. It's a way to stay connected by responding to the post, whether that's with a celebration option or a thumbs up or to write a comment. All those things keep you connected to the people within your network. And as you do or create posts, they will do the same thing with you. If you've not had a LinkedIn page, then look at some of the people within your industry or people that you know and see what their page looks like. Clearly, if they're more experienced than you are, you will not have the same level of years of experience or even skill sets, but you can get started. And as you learn additional skill sets as well as get additional experience, you'll be updating your LinkedIn profile on LinkedIn. Some previous podcasts for you to listen to is the economy starting to slow down? There's a part one and a part two. I also have a podcast on how to survive unemployment. One of the things that we are always slow to do with unemployment is change our spending habits. So if you're not unemployed, there could be the potential, but actually, whether there's the potential or not, you should be saving more money or paying down your bills so that should something happen, you're not in dire straits because you owe out a lot of money and you don't have any income coming in. In a couple of other podcasts, I talk about that you're not always paid unemployment. But what I will share is that unemployment is not always enough to pay for your household expenses. So that's important. The other thing that happens when you're unemployed is you lose your health care. And health insurance is really important. So that's oftentimes why people become desperate and will take anything because they need health care either for themselves or for themselves and their family. So be aware that planning ahead, listening to some of my additional podcasts that are out there can help you prepare yourself and if you have a family for the potential loss of employment. And unfortunately, because of the economy and the way things are going, you'll be unemployed for longer than the typical 2 to 3 months. So you want to definitely prepare for that. You want to make sure that you and your partner, if you have one, are doing the things that you need to do so that if there's only one income coming in, or if you're the only income coming in and you have lost it, you find ways to shore up what you have. The other thing I will share, when I was unemployed, because the amount of unemployment I was getting was so low, I also took a part-time job. Again, that was to make sure that I was able to pay my existing expenses. The other thing I will share, and I know people have to buy certain things. We just got through back to school, but anything that is unnecessary, like buying a lunch instead of bring your lunch, buying tennis shoes, buying outfits. There's a whole host of things that we do when we're making money that we will need to change when we are no longer pulling in the same amount of money. And that is critical because unfortunately, typically the last thing we change is our spending habits. And in the economy that we're in right now and the circumstances that are taking place, that's one of the first things that we need to do is adjust our spending habits so that we're buying what we need, not necessarily what we want, so our money will stretch further. Thank you so much for listening to Conversations for College Success. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to send them to Conversations for College Success at hotmail.com. Again, that's conversations with an S for college success at hotmail.com. Look forward to talking to you next week. Have a great day. Bye bye.